on it when we start, right? That's it.
Whatever,
It's the
whatever
four
you
of us.
whatever
Yeah,
you
we're
want.
live. It's all
Oh,
four of us,
we're
and we're
live.
all here.
Yeah, we're live
We're
already.
live,
Hold on, let
friends.
me at least give you an intro. Ladies and gentlemen, Snowball, Johnny Boy, Matt O'Leary, and special guest Jets Chaos bring you JETS Jets Talk. Here we go.
I thought I used to like it when you used to like stretch it out. In
Okay.
the world,
Snowball's the greatest Jets mastermind in the world. Snowball.
Thank you. Boo. Johnny Boy, Matt, and Jets Chaos. Jeremy are here and we are here to talk Jets all night long, no matter how long it takes. I asked them before the show, how long do you have? They said 24 hours of Jets talk.
Yeah.
We are doing a 24-hour stream tonight. All of you, please get your super chats ready because we'll be monetized probably next year. So anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to come out and join us on Jets Worldwide. Jeremy, Matt, really appreciate you guys coming in. For those of you in the chat, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. If you are watching after the fact, do the same, except don't hit the like, or you can hit the like. Can you hit the like after the fact?
I think so.
But
you
you
can
subscribe anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Very good.
Help us. We're poor.
We're poor.
Please.
We are poor. So what are we talking about tonight, gentlemen? I think free agency is right around the corner, so that might be a topic of discussion. We have a lot of things to discuss. So, Johnny, you had some ideas before we got started, so you want to be the springboard?
Yeah, let's do it up. So what's going on, Matt? What up, Chaos? Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming onto the show. Mr. Snowball, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. It was a good day of school. Nobody got hurt. Everyone was okay. Education is in full effect, so it's good. We had many good discussions about art education today. So
that's amazing. Always. So, breaking news just happened, probably like a few moments ago, right? Geno Smith to the Raiders. Who would have thought that? I couldn't believe it. What is Pete Carroll doing? He's doing whatever he wants to do. How does that impact us going into the draft, right? I've been talking about my whole thought frame, at least for the draft, right, is can we move back into the draft and get some more assets, right? Because it's what I want. I think there's a lot of holes that need to be filled in, and I think that we can do it. If Sanders is to say he drops and is he at 7th, do we have a suitor now? Your guys' thoughts on this. I wanted to pick your guys' brain. Let's talk Jets, baby. What's going on, Matt?
I am excited to be here, and I like what you just brought up with the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, there's a pretty big opening at quarterback there. Would they be looking to trade up if, for whatever reason, Shedeur Sanders, fell and was there at pick number 7? I'd be interested in moving back to 18. I don't think that's too far down the board. I think there's still some good options at that point. And I definitely think you'd be able to pick up a second-round pick if you were to do that. And they have the 50th pick in the NFL draft. So the Jets would slide back. They'd have pick 18, 42, and 50. So I'd be good with that. I know the wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka, is probably someone that the Jets could target in that range. I know Jeremy's a big fan of him. I don't know if he wants to jump in on that too, but I'm definitely open to that idea if that's what we're getting into here with Seattle potentially looking for a quarterback.
I think the worst case scenario is if Seattle signs Sam Darnold, and it'll shatter 2 dreams of mine. Because then what will happen is, and this is why it will be all negative for us in that sense, in my mind, it could be. If Seattle signs Sam Darnold, it ruins my dream of being able to trade for JJ McCarthy, which would be, a little bit of a rumor that I would be thrilled with if we were able to trade for JJ McCarthy, because I love him. I loved him coming out of college. So that dream would be over. Also, if Seattle was to sign to sign Sam Darnold. That means they wouldn't be a trade partner. And it would only hurt us in the draft because I think the Raiders now are going to be the guys to take the running back Gentry. And then Jacksonville gets the opportunity to trade back. And we get left with, there's no one left to trade up for unless somebody else wants Sanders. So a lot of moving parts, but in some ways I could see it as a negative for us in that way, because I was kind of hoping, honestly, that Dallas would trade up with us to take the running back. But if the Raiders are going to take him, which is a very likely thing now, because they're a lot like Dallas, they like to take the big flashy running back name, and their franchises are kind of known for that. The only thing I'm left with is McMillan will be on the board if we can't trade back. I'm looking, it's like, and that's a positive for me, because if we're not going to get trade back and we're going to get stuck, I'm kind of pretty happy taking McMillan and getting ourselves a solid wide receiver.
So I've been saying this a lot, right? I really feel like the Cowboys are another suitor for Sanders. Jerry Jones, right? He's a flashy owner. To be able to bring Sanders back to Dallas, I could see the headlines and all that, right? I brought Sanders back. Dak, there's supposedly there's been a lot of issues between them, right? The injury that he's had, etc. Am I thinking too much into that, or is that a possibility?
I think I would be surprised if they took him, because he seems to really like Dak Prescott. Now you bring up a good point with like the Dion connection and the Cowboys, and I think he would like Shador if they didn't have somebody already in place. But would they take Shador and then look to trade Dak Prescott? That would be a tough one. He's come out and spoke pretty glowingly about his quarterback this offseason, so that would catch me by surprise. But if they wanted to trade up for, like what Jeremy was saying, for Ashton Jeanty, the running back, that's a huge need for them, and that's something that Jerry has done in the past, is like put an emphasis on the running back in the first round. So I think that would be a more likely trade up scenario than them moving up for Shador right now.
Chaos?
Yeah, I just think because Dak's contract, I think that would make it hard, because you'd be allocating a tremendous amount of resources to the quarterback position for the next couple of years, like giving up your first for one. You're still paying Dak. What has he got? He's got at least 2 more years of guaranteed money, right? I think. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty big investment for something that is far from a guarantee, right? I mean, this is the reason we say, everyone, I know people get sick of hearing it's not a strong quarterback class. It is true that saying that does not have any bearing on Sanders, right? It has nothing to do with him if it's a strong quarterback class or not. But the reason that he might be available, the reason when there's no other quarterback but Ward, why, and so many teams that need quarterback, why would he be even available at that spot? The reason for it is because it's a bigger gamble. There are concerns with him. There are things that where there are certain quarterbacks that come out, you have more confidence could play at the NFL level. And then there are these factors that make it less concerned. And a lot of people never think about that. It's like, grab him. But like, why is he there? And I think that the concerns with Sanders is, and, Dallas might love him and might not care, but the concerns with him is, is when you watch him, and one of the characters about Shador Sanders that people don't realize, he has beautiful mechanics. He worked his tail off, right? His throwing form is great. His passes are beautiful. One of the concerns is although he's a well-protected quarterback and their offensive line is actually good, he is one of the leaders in being sacked because he holds onto the ball a really long time. And there's that big question mark of, you go to the NFL, you got to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. And the question becomes, is he going to make that adjustment in the NFL and be able to drop back in the pocket and get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds? And we don't know that based on his college film.
Is that holding onto the ball a processing issue?
We don't know.
Right. So,
I mean, he had Travis Hunter, though. He had a wide receiver that gets open.
Yeah.
I mean, he had good receivers. They were playing against, they weren't playing against Ohio State every week or Georgia or Alabama every week.
Right.
So, and then I don't have the all 22 access to that level. I know there are people who could get film where you could see the receivers and if they were open. The all 22 I'm looking at does not show me if people are open all the time. So it's really hard for me to weigh in on that. But it was pretty consistent that he was in the pocket, like he'd be in the pocket for a really long time when it wasn't a designed RPO play, when it wasn't just a design play, get rid of the ball, and he took 3 to 5 steps backwards. It took him a long time on average to get rid of the football. And that's just a concern for me.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree that, that is a concern with him. To me, I really don't see any trading up, trading back. I think people are going to stand pat where they are in the draft, which leads me to the question of what do the Jets do at 7? Like, I really think we're gonna stay there. I don't believe we're gonna try to trade up or trade back. And for me, I mean, I'll give my opinion on where I feel we should go with 7. I like the tight end position at 7. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I think I do. I think Warren is worth the 7 pick. Agree, disagree? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, I love Tyler Warren, so I'd be all in on that. I think for me, my top 3 favorite options for the Jets at 7 are Mason Graham, Tyler Warren, and Tet McMillan. And I think that Mason Graham's probably going to be gone by pick 7, so that one might even be a little bit of a stretch. So for me, it's probably between Tet and Tyler Warren. I'd be good with either one of those. I think the good thing about Tyler Warren is he doesn't just impact your team as a pass catcher. He's going to be such a factor in the run game too, as a blocker. I know that, positional value and not a lot of people like to take a tight end that early. And you can make the case, they passed on a tight end last year, but really different circumstances for me. They took an offensive lineman in a really good offensive line class. This year, the offensive line class isn't nearly as good. And I think tight end is shown to be a really big position of need. So if that's the pick, I'd be thrilled. I think it's a home run selection.
Who would compare Bowers last year to Warren this year? What's your evaluation between the 2 tight ends? Like, he was such a valued pick, Bowers last year, and now Warren this year. What do you think? Who's the better tight end?
I think Bowers is probably the better all around tight end than Tyler Warren, but it's not I don't think it's going to be like a crazy huge gap where it's like this, he's not worthy of going in the first round. I do. I think Tyler Warren absolutely is a first round tight end. I think Brock Bowers is, clearly a special player, and my expectation wouldn't be for, however many, he had over 1,000 receiving yards this past year. I don't think Tyler Warren would do that in year 1, but I think he is a 10-year starter, top 10 NFL in the league, and will come into the league and perform right away. I think, especially in this Jets offense, which is a little weak right now at wide receiver besides Garrett Wilson, I think he'd be like second or third in catches and receiving yards at that point.
Yeah. The other thing is you have to ask is, who's the better tight end is a loaded question, because it's what do you want in a tight end? Bowers is not an inline tight end, right? So if your system and your scheme is designed on, a tight end that has to do both, because you don't run a 12 personnel often. Let's say you run a lot of 11, a lot of 10 personnel, and a lot of times you only have one tight end in the game, and you're looking for a tight end who could block in line and also slip out and receive and catch passes. That's not Bowers. And that's fine. Nothing against him. He's obviously we're seeing he's going to be a very special receiving tight end. The thing that's nice about Tyler Warren, if you're a team that does that, and you're not specifically going to have a blocking tight end and a receiving tight end, and you want one guy that you could bring out in 11 personnel that gives you the threat of both to the opponent, and they don't know which one he's going to do, that's Tyler Warren, because he could stay in there in line and block for you. He could also go into the backfield and line up, as a fullback. You could do the tush push and have him be the quarterback that takes the snap directly to do that, right? So he gives you a lot of versatility. There's a lot of different things he could do. He's a different player. As far as where he goes in the draft, you can't, it's apples and oranges, because this is just not as top heavy a draft as last year was. Agreed. It's a very, this is a bottom heavy draft. The meat of the draft is the 2nd through 5th round. And it's just simply a different draft, which is why Tyler Warren makes total sense at 7 and would be a completely acceptable pick that I think Jet fans should be happy with.
So, like for me, if you ask me in an hour, who do I go at 7, it'll change again. I'm so up in the air right now with who I want at 7 because I want free agency to be here. I want to see what the Jets are going to do. Are they going to fill up the defensive position holes that we have right now first, right? And then I can see the Tyler Warren situation. I love Tyler Warren. I think he's a mean individual that's going to give that attitude that the Jets need at that position that's been lacking for a while, right? But then I also see there's other guys that are out there. The Mike Gesky cat, right? If you want a quick rental or something, like he's there, right? I mean, the dude could still get some separation. He can still catch the ball, and he's not that bad of a blocker. But I don't know, because there's just so much unknown right now. I cannot wait till free agency comes around and we see what we have. I'm still on the boat to trade back. Like, if Sanders does fall, right, enter the room the Saints. The Saints are going to need a quarterback, right? Now, I wanted to ask you guys this. Why is the quarterback position for the Jets such the biggest want of the entire fan base when there's just so many holes at the current moment? I understand that we haven't had a quarterback for like a very long time. A lot of people are very worried right now with the regime that we got in. Can they go ahead and potentially bring a rookie quarterback and coach him up the correct way? What's your guys' thought on all of that noise that is being brought to the Jets at the current moment?
Yeah, I think quarterback is a need. I don't want to, seem like I'm just glossing over it, but I kind of agree that I think this year, at least in the draft, I think you're kind of using it to build out the rest of the roster. And I think they'll make their aggressive play for long-term answer at the quarterback position next year in 2026. I just think that it's more likely that they're going to do some sort of stopgap, whether it's, Tyrod starting, or I think there's some, legiticism, or, it's going to be legit that interest in Justin Fields coming in here for a year or two. But some sort of veteran who can kind of hold down the fort for you for a year. Maybe best case scenario, you win like 9 games, you sneak into a playoff spot if we're really dreaming. But I think it's going to be a bit of a transition year, and they're not going to exactly go, we got to find our long-term answer right this second. I think it's kind of an evaluation and build out the roster kind of season.
Yeah, I think fans are just, impatient. And I don't blame them. I mean, it was 15 years without play. I'm not criticizing 15 years without the playoffs, but sometimes you have to realize, like, yeah, that sucks. It sucks that we haven't been in the playoffs for 15 years. It sucks that the better strategy might be to wait till next year when there's actually a really great quarterback class with a lot of, it's a much better opportunity to jump in and get that long-time solution. And fans say, well, I want it now. We need a quarterback now because we need to be able to compete now because I'm tired of waiting. But, we had our shot. We did a rebuild in 2020. We built up this personnel that 90% of the fan base thought we were good. We thought we had a chance to win. It didn't work out for whatever reasons. It was a disaster. It blew up in our face. It didn't work. And there's just no way to patch it up and fix it and be a Super Bowl contender or, a real championship contender next year. There are way too many holes in the roster. So I think it's a good point to say, why are they so anxious for a quarterback? We don't have all the pieces to even support a quarterback. But then you have the other side of it is I'm tired of waiting. And also people don't like to live in uncertainty. The quarterback, we all know, is the position. It's the key position. And it's going to be hard to convince the fan base to wait another year until we have answers. And to say a bridge quarterback to them means living in limbo and feeling like the organization has no stability because we don't know our answer at the most important position. But sometimes expression I learned in business is sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And I think this is one of those cases where if you want the fastest route to being a championship team again, and it's watching this roster turn it around and this team turn it around, the fastest way to do that is to slow down and wait the year and get the right quarterback in 26.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of who we have at quarterback, which is really the issue. You have Tyrod, who has a history of injury, who, you know, we don't know how long he's going to last. And then behind him, what do you have? You have Jordan Travis, and that's like a question mark. So, it's the free agency market for quarterback that I think most Jets fans are most interested in. So, with that in mind, I mean, a lot of people are really looking towards Justin Fields becoming a Jet. But if you watch, any podcast, sportscaster, anything, if you go on any channel, the teams who need a quarterback, they're all looking at Justin Fields. So, who's to say that he's actually coming to the Jets? That's a shot in the dark, really, when you think about it. So, based off of that information and who's available now that Geno Smith is gone, who are the Jets if we took Justin Fields out of the equation? Who's left? Who makes the most sense for the Jets without Justin? Let's say, Justin Fields stays with the Steelers, right? Now, what do we do?
Yeah, I think I would target Jameis Winston, and I know people are scared of him because of the interceptions, and I get it. He's a high variance quarterback, but I think he did spend some time in New Orleans when Aaron Glenn was there. I do think he's someone who could come in and be competitive for you. I don't know if he would necessarily beat out Tyrod Taylor straight up in a quarterback competition, but let's say Tyrod gets banged up because, that's happened in the past and he has to miss 4 games. Can Jameis come in and hold down the fort for you for, a 4-game sample? I think he absolutely could. Now that's, not the only guy out there. There's tons of different, options, and I know everyone has their preference, but for me, at least with Jameis, the reason why I like him is at least he'll push the ball down the field, and yes, he'll take some chances, but something I'd like to see the Jets do offensively more this year is take more shots downfield. I think it's something that they lacked last year with Aaron Rodgers, and it's why some of their offense really wasn't all that explosive.
So Matt, I want to interject for a second.
Sure.
So who is he pushing the ball down the field to? Right?
Well, I'm hoping that it's Garrett Wilson, and I'm hoping that, Tyler Warren, potentially, who you mentioned at pick number 7. Maybe there's a middle tier wide receiver in free agency, like not the sexiest name, but like a Darius Slayton with the Giants. Like, he's someone who kind of can play all over the formation, inside and outside at receiver. And he's known to, be a guy who can, make plays downfield. Even with Daniel Jones at quarterback, he was able to get down the field and make some plays. So those would be 2 guys that I would like to see the Jets add this offseason too. But if it's Jameis, then I would think those, Tyler Warren, Garrett Wilson, maybe a Darius Slayton, someone like that.
Right. Okay. So Jameis Winston is your pick if it's not going to be Justin Fields. Johnny, do you have an opinion?
I'm kind of on the same boat. Winston for me, and I'm gonna say the other name that might get me beat up, and you might not find me later on. But if we're talking about somebody that I could essentially come in, plug and play, potentially be able to read the offense and just kind of learn, I like Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston would be fun to see. I think he would probably break every single record that the Jets have had. I think he'll go over the Fitzpatrick season record that he has right now. It's Jacoby Brissett, right? At this point, right, because it just looks so grim, the free agency in the quarterback class right now. So why not, right? I mean, give them, at least you have a backup that in case Tyrod does go down, because I still believe game 1 of the season, it's going to be Tyrod that's going to be the starter of this squad. Like, that's my opinion. That's what I think. But seeing these guys there, I guess, if Fields is not the guy and it's that, give me Winston. I wouldn't mind a Brissett. This is making me sick just saying these names right now, just to let you guys know. So, chaos.
Jets budget.
I like these names, and I'm gonna be honest. The reason I like those names and be happy if that was the answer, the solution, was it protects what I think is best for this franchise moving forward in the future. Because Jameis Winston is no threat to my dream of the Jets taking a quarterback next year, which is perfect because he can be fun to watch. He's very coachable because you saw in New Orleans when he had a good coach, the one opportunity he had in his life where he had a good coach, he played great football, right? So, and we have a coordinator. If this coordinator successfully implements the Detroit scheme, it's quarterback friendly. It makes Goff a lot better. It could be beautiful for Winston, and if he comes in and has a decent year, throws up a lot of yards, it doesn't impact us taking a guy next year, unless he's so freaking good. We just say this is our guy, right? I'm doubtful, but we saw what happened in Geno Smith's career, and I think Jameis Winston is more talented than Geno Smith. As far as up until when Geno Smith had that success, who had the bigger ceiling out of those two guys? So, but for me, I would be happy with a Jameis Winston. I'd even be happy with a Jacoby Brissett, because to me, I just want a bridge quarterback. I just want to get through the year and build the culture. I want to see some of the young guys fill some of the holes, get these guys used to each other, get a lot of those holes filled. So then the next offseason, you can complete the roster around your new quarterback and then really launch forward into the future. I have a dream that somehow Drew Aller is going to end up a New York Jet. And if that, I want whatever makes that possible, whatever makes that, because I'm telling you, as much as this season might really suck and be awful and horrible to tolerate, if we end up with Drew Aller in 5 years from now, I have a very good feeling no one will change a thing, and everybody will say, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm really happy with how everything unfolded. That's how I feel about it, because I happen to like the quarterback. If you don't like Drew Aller, you're not going to feel that way. But yeah, so Jameis Winston, fine. Jacoby Brissett, fine. Would love to sneak into the playoffs, fine. But if we don't and we have a terrible record, then it helps my other dream, getting the right quarterback and then being able to build a real franchise.
Enter the room, Kirk Cousins. Now, I saw a report today that stated he had a meeting with the ownership over there in Atlanta, and Atlanta is pretty much saying they're not going to let him go, right? That's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like. But if that is a possibility, what are your guys' thoughts on Cousins?
He scares me because of how he looked at the end there in Atlanta. Now, I know he was coming off the Achilles injury, and we saw what Rodgers looked like year one after the Achilles. But I just think, at his age, I don't know if he's ever going to look like the competent quarterback that we saw, for most of his career. He was good. He was good. I don't know if he was an elite level quarterback, but he was a fine, starting quarterback in this league for a long time. I don't know if he's ever going to get back to that. He's definitely not very mobile, which I don't want another offense where the quarterback can't really move around and is like a statue in the pocket. So I would not really be all that interested in Kirk Cousins at this point.
It's a spring chicken compared to Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, my question with Kirk Cousins is, doesn't he have 2 more years of pretty big salary guaranteed?
He does.
Yeah, I just think for a bridge quarterback, a guy his age that is not going to be part of our future, how do you manage that salary right now? We're trying to rebuild a lot of the missing weapons on this team. We have to extend Sauce. We have to extend, Garrett Wilson. Even AVT is going to be a question mark of what are we going to do with him? There's a lot of things we have to worry about as far as salary cap and finances. And I just don't think that Kirk Cousins is going to do it anyway. So I think the money part, I'd rather live with this cheap, inexpensive Jameis Winston than, Cousins might be the better guy on the field. But what does it really, in short term, it might feel good. We might get some extra wins. But what does it really get us long term? It gets us a guy that's going to go away. And now what did we lose because of the money we paid him that we didn't have to retain young players?
I think we should bring Kirk Cousins in and interview him and never hire him.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
And get him back for what he did to us.
Just get him back. Just bring him into the building. Hype him up. Get him all pumped up and like, yeah, you're going to be a Jet. And then be like, you know what? Second thought, screw you, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm not for the Cousins thing, right? Because it's the talk. Everybody's talking about it. Cousins this, Cousins that, anything. Look, if I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys, and we should have just stuck with Aaron Rodgers at that point. I'm not gonna trade an Achilles for another Achilles. You know what I mean? So like, I'm out on Cousins. I've been out on Cousins. I don't want that dude. Like, and Chaos, I think if they were to cut him, they would still be paying him, right? The Falcons, and we could potentially do something like the Russell Wilson type of thing where we pay him like $1 million for like the Met minimum or whatever it is that's out there. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
if that's what I was asking, if there's a way that it gets manipulated that Atlanta still has to pay the money, and we get him at a cheap price, then yeah, of course, then he's like every other guy, right? He's a perfect bridge quarterback. He's a guy who might be able to win us some games, fun to watch. It's not horrible. It doesn't make you want to throw up. He even has upside where he might surprise and be really good. So fine, but again, as long as it's recognized, his age is recognized, and he's not the future. And we have to draft in 2026. We have to draft a quarterback.
Now I have a question. This was brought up by shout out to Boomtown, right? He's asking for the panel. If we don't get Fields, it kind of ties everything together. Who would have the better to build the culture this season, Winston or Rodgers? Now he says he's going to hang up and listen. Matt, you want to take it away?
I think you can make the case that it might be Winston for this year, just because I don't. Now he's polarizing, but in a very different way. Like I don't think he's coming on your team, and anyone's questioning whether it's Jameis Winston's team or Aaron Glenn's team. With Aaron Rodgers still here, if that was the case in 2025, it would be: is this Aaron Glenn's team or is this Aaron Rodgers' team? So for that reason, I think I say Winston, even though obviously not better quarterback during his prime.
Yeah, I would have to say that I'm 100% with Matt. I think that I want Aaron Glenn to build the culture, and I think the reason that Rodgers, if you want a real explanation of why Rodgers is not here with us, I think the number one reason is not even salary. I think the number one reason why, because I don't think the money would have stopped them. I think the number one reason is Aaron Glenn wants to establish and build a brand new way of thinking and a brand new culture. And I think that, not against him, nothing against Aaron Rodgers, but he's just way too strong of a personality, too strong of a figure to do that. The locker room would still look to him because he's Aaron Rodgers. And I think that Aaron Glenn said the only way to really start and rebuild this culture is Aaron Rodgers is too strong of a personality and figure. He has to go. And that's why I think we made that decision. That's why they made that decision, because a guy like Winston is just another guy in the locker room that's going to become part of the culture that Aaron Glenn is trying to build.
Snowball?
In my opinion, it was probably a very gutsy move to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. You saw the way the team reacted when he left, right? There were like posts on Twitter, right? That people were upset in the locker room when he left, and not like no-name people on the team, like larger names on the team were a little upset. But if Aaron Glenn wants to build this team, and I'm not saying that he was intimidated by Aaron Rodgers' personality or his stature, but if he is going for the build the culture of the Glenn culture, if we want to call it Glenn culture, you have to get rid of the biggest person in the room, right? You have to just say sorry, thank you, and escort him out. So, but to build a culture, Rodgers or Winston, I really don't see Winston as a culture builder. If you really ask me, I mean Rodgers is a culture unto himself. He's like cult like, so it's a wash to me. I don't see anyone. now that if Rodgers was here, he would have taken over. But Winston, I don't see. I think the way Jeremy explained it, right? He's the perfect bridge. It's like vanilla. He's vanilla ice cream. He's fun vanilla ice cream. Maybe he's vanilla ice cream with sprinkles, right? Where it's a little
Carvel.
fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Carvel, right? He's Carvel with like a little bit of sprinkles. That way, whatever. It's plain, but it's a little jazzy. So I don't know. The other people that are available though for like the free agent quarterbacks. I mean, Sammy's not coming back. Where's Sam going?
Probably Seattle, I would think. Now,
Seattle's got to be the favorite. Got to
Makes
be.
sense.
I look, I'm kind of on your stuff, Chaos, right? I've been trying to keep it low. I've been keeping it hush hush, right? But I think he stays with the Vikings.
okay.
And I really think that the McCarthy conversation is going to be brought up at some point. And if that's the case, why not? Right? I mean,
we're in the best position to trade for him. We're in great position because we have the number 7 pick. Like we would be in a really, really great spot if there were other suitors for JJ McCarthy and Minnesota was willing to trade him. Like we really would be in a good position to get him.
So what was the motivation for Seattle to get rid of Geno? Like, what was that move? What's that move?
I think they have an insight. I think they know something that they can get Sam Darnold. I think that no matter how much they're not allowed maybe to talk, or maybe they did talk. Maybe like the owners talked, or I don't know. I like we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But if you see Kirk Cousins end up in Seattle, if it happens, I guarantee you they already knew it right now, like that it was going to happen. Guarantee you.
Yeah. True. Well, listen,
or they like a quarterback that's out there, because I keep seeing now that I've been seeing it for a while. They've been talking about that kid out of Louisville, right? What's his name? I think it's Louisville. Tyler Shaw, whatever his name is.
I don't know. Look, he's an interesting roll of the dice, but man, you don't trade away Geno Smith for a 3rd rounder for him. That would be wild.
That would be crazy.
And it would be nuts. You're completely right. But I still to this day believe that I think Purdy changed the game, man, a lot in it. And would that ever happen again? I have no idea. I'm not a QB guru. I don't know and everything, but I think it changed the narrative in regards to if you got the right coaching staff in there, you could get a guy that's picked dead last and make him into a really serviceable quarterback. So
it's happened in the past, and it will happen in the future again. The question is, you have to realize there's dozens of quarterbacks that are taken in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round, and will be over the next 10 years. 98% will never be starters, or 96% will never be starters. That's a real number. 4% end up starting. So yes, there will be another Brock Purdy. It's just like, how do you know who it's going to be though?
Roll of the dice, right? As they say. But to me, I think it's with every quarterback, because I feel like with this draft, I think it's Cam Ward and everybody else, right? That's what it seems like they keep pumping out there. Cam Ward is the guy that you can't miss on, and it's everybody else. I've been on board with Snowball. I like Will Howard, man. I like the size of the guy. I think there's something there that could potentially, that he could learn it, right? Riley Leonard, right? The Notre Dame guy. People are like, oh, he don't have an arm really like that. I don't know, man. I mean, we had Chad Pennington. Look what Chad Pennington did with us over here. Not comparing the two, but just saying. There's some guys out there. I just hope they don't do whatever. There's people out here right now that want Jackson Dart at 7. Like legit, they're like, give me Jackson Dart at 7. And I'm like, what?
They're real people.
This is like legit stuff, guys.
It's just hype and emotion. It's like the desperation of the position.
Yeah.
It's like, like in no real world. And this has nothing to do, like Dart might end up being a stud quarterback. Like people have to understand, because people get so mad when I say this. When I start saying you can't take him at 7, like that's not me saying that he can't end up being a good quarterback. But with the information you have right now, You don't have any information on this kid. Yeah, he's able to play and look good in a system and a scheme that is completely a fantasy as far as how it looks in the NFL. Like he's playing in a system against competition where there's nothing like it that resembles a professional offense. It's not going to work in the NFL. And I think that people are watching highlights and not understanding that. And they're not understanding how the Ole Miss offense works and what it means. And it doesn't mean he can't be good or succeed. It just means there's no way to tell. There's no way to know if he's going to. It was like with Zach Wilson. It was like trying to predict that he was going to be able to go to that BYU offense against no competition. And was that going to translate to the NFL? You're doing that same thing over again. You're doing a thing where it's like, yeah, almost every quarterback that fills those shoes for that team puts up numbers because of that system.
Yeah, I don't know. It is a crapshoot. Well, Cam Ward. I mean, what is it about Cam Ward that makes him the surefire number one quarterback candidate? What are the aspects? What are the traits? What does he have that makes him number one?
I think for me, it's his athleticism. Now, if he was coming out like in last year's quarterback class, I don't think he would have been ranked nearly as high. But
yeah, would he be like? He'd still be top 10.
He would probably. I think he probably would have been like, I don't know, maybe I was gonna say like the fourth or fifth quarterback in that class. When did the fourth or fifth quarterback go a year ago? I guess JJ McCarthy at 11 or 10, right? They traded up for him, so somewhere around there, I guess. But like, I get why people like Cam Ward, and I think Cam has the best shot of this group to come in and be a franchise quarterback, which is why it feels like I forget who said it. Might have been Johnny who said it earlier. It feels like it's Cam Ward and then a gap and everybody else. And I think the reason for that is because they saw what he was able to do this past year in Miami. Yes, they're really good offensively. They're a horrible, horrible defense. And he was able to keep them in games and extend plays with his legs. And he put up really big numbers this year. I think it's the athleticism and the arm that people really are getting attached to with Cam Ward.
Yeah, I think Matt said it right. Like he's the best in this class, and when at the quarterback position, like all the best of a class gets overhyped. Will Campbell, right? They projected him as the best offensive tackle. People want to take him in the top 5. I don't even know if he's going to play tackle in the NFL, And when you watch his film, he would have been OT7 last year. Well, Cam Ward last year would have been quarterback 6 at the highest. There's no way I would have him in my top 5. I could name 5 quarterbacks last year I would easily have above him, including Penix. So, maybe I'd have Ward above Bo Nix. So maybe, I don't even know. But this year, Cam Ward's my number 1 quarterback. What does that mean? That means that he's simply better than all the other quarterbacks.
Everybody else sucks, right?
Right, but it doesn't mean he's a can't miss pick, and it certainly doesn't mean he's a top 5 pick. But he will because of the position. Like somebody will take a shot at him. And it might be Tennessee, and he wouldn't make it past the Giants. Even if they got Aaron Rodgers, he ain't making it past the Giants.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna throw this curveball to you guys real quick, right? These conversations that individuals are having with me, we're talking about it. Shout out to the Afterburners. This was a convo that we had with them yesterday, right? We were asked if Arizona came to us and said, hey, we want 7, right? Because the cap situation that we're going into is getting a little bit crazy, right? We'll give you straight up Kyler Murray for your 7th and a 3rd or something to that sense, right? Is that something that you guys would feel comfortable to do? If yes, explain. If no, why?
I feel very mixed on Kyler Murray. It would make me nervous because he does have some injury history in his career. And I think his best season by far was that second year in the league, and he hasn't played quite at that level since. He would definitely be the best Jets quarterback that they had in a long time, and I think is a top 15 quarterback in this league. But what I don't know the answer to is he closer to being a top 10 guy, what he was in his second year, or is this just kind of what he is, middle of the pack quarterback? And if you have to give up the first round pick and attach yourself to the contract with Kyler Murray, and he's just going to be a middle of the road guy for you, is that enough to push this team over the top? I don't know. So I feel very lukewarm on it. I think there's a lot worse ideas you could come up with for the Jets, long-term plans at quarterback. But it's very risky for me.
He's a $50 million plus quarterback. I don't even know if I'm comfortable with him as my quarterback at that salary. Now, if he came for free and you're just paying him the $55 million, I'm not saying no. I mean, you have to consider it because it doesn't cost you if it didn't cost you any draft capital. But when you talk about the number 7 pick and what'd you say, the 3rd round pick?
We would get their 3rd round pick.
Oh, okay.
Just throwing that. That's what it was thrown to us yesterday. Yeah. I'm on the same boat with Matt. I don't want him. Right. Well, that's what I said.
I mean, because it's paying the 1st round pick in addition to $50+ million a year. It's double paying. And I just think that if you're going to get a quarterback, like if you want a quarterback, like that's a middle of the quarterback guy, like the 15th best quarterback, and you're willing to pay him $50+ million, wait until there's a quarterback in free agency and just pay a middle of the road quarterback $50 million, and overpay him and get him. But Kyler Murray is what if we had him on a rookie contract, I knew what he was going to be, and he was a rookie right now, would I use my number 7 on him? Sure. Number 7 pick. I get a number 7 quarterback, and I get him cheap for the next, I get a middle of the road quarterback for the next 5 years with really good mobility. I would, that might be a good 7th pick, and fine. But to give the 7th pick and pay $55 million or whatever it is, no, I wouldn't do it.
Snowball?
Yeah, I'm out on Murray. It's just not. I don't know. He had Kingsbury as a coach, right? The first year that he was in the league, and you saw some promise. Then Kingsbury was gone, and then he's underperforming according to the NFL. So I don't know. Is it a matter of coaching with Kyler Murray? He does have the high price tag, like you guys said. So I'm just not. I'm with Matt. I'm just not comfortable with Kyler Murray. Johnny, you gave your opinion.
Yeah, I was blown away that this was even a thought, but it's a good conversational starter, right? And stuff like that. I at least I thought so, but I was like, there's no way. I'm like, because I tie everything back together and I say, are we a quarterback away? And we're not. We're not. There's just so much stuff that's happening. There's so many holes that we have. Okay, cool. We put in Kyler Murray, and who's he throwing it to? Is he going to be playing Call of Duty too much? I don't know, because those were the stuff that was happening with this dude. And it's such an unknown, and I don't want to risk it. I want to see what this regime is going to do, how they're going to build it up. This is why I can't wait for free agency. Boom has a really good question that he wanted to ask you guys.
So here's a question then. We get our QB in this draft or next. What confidence do you have that the existing coaching staff can actually develop them properly? I don't see any QB gurus on the staff.
Well, didn't Tanner Engstrand play quarterback?
Yeah, I think Tanner Engstrom is what we're putting our faith and money into and, hoping for. I mean, it's kind of an unknown, right? We just don't know because you don't really know. I mean, everything that people say about him, and what he did for Detroit, and Aaron Glenn knows it's not just, he was there, he saw it. Right. He believes that he had a lot to do, and he was a very important part of the success that the Detroit Lions had offensively. So I I think it's an unknown. We just don't know this staff well enough. But I'm certainly not going to hold the Jets past against them. Like, and I like that Boomtown said this coaching staff, because the past has nothing to do with the present.
Yep.
Like, this is a new coaching staff. We don't know their ability to develop a quarterback or not, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like we hired them. This is our coaching staff, and it doesn't stop us from needing to go out and find a young, great franchise quarterback. So it just is what it is.
Pure speculation, all hyperbole. We really don't. There are no definites with this team this year. So this is, we're jumping into the deep end with all these guys, and we just don't know who's going to swim and who's going to drown. So we'll find out soon enough. That's for sure.
Is it just us being so battered though, as a fan base, that it could have been anybody and we would have been pissed off in regards to that still, and be like, oh, look, we still got rid of, I don't know, insert Vrabel, and Vrabel got rid of Aaron Rodgers, right? And he picks up, I don't know, let's say he picks up Tanner Anstring, whatever his name is. I can never pronounce his last name. I say Instagram. But anyways, right? Are we still feeling the same? Like, is this question even being talked about at this point? Right? Because I know a lot of individuals were super, super high on Vrabel as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, I wonder what kind of staff would have, like, you're talking if Vrabel was the Jets head coach, and how, like, would people feel about it, essentially, right?
Correct.
Depends on, like, would Josh McDaniels have been his offensive coordinator with the Jets also, or did Josh McDaniels only want to go back to New England? And it's not like McDaniels has really developed a quarterback either. He had a lot of success with Tom Brady. We know that, but he hasn't really had a track record of developing quarterbacks. So for me, it wouldn't feel any different. I'd feel just about exactly the same.
The fact that Vrabel had been a head coach, though, in the past, I think maybe would have held some bearing with Jets fans to say, okay, this is a guy who's been in the position before. So maybe the confidence level, instead of being at a 6, might have been at like a 7.5 with Vrabel. Maybe I'm not quite sure, but that would be my take. I think Jets fans would be more confident with Vrabel as head coach as opposed to Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I think that we don't know who Vrabel would have ended up with as the offensive coordinator. And it would have depended on who the offensive coordinator is, who the quarterback coach is, and every team is different, right? Sometimes it has more to do with the coordinator. Sometimes it has more to do with the coach. Sometimes there's just an advisor and an assistant in there that could be great for a quarterback. It depends on what the quarterback needs. Is it a coordinator that puts in a system that works for the quarterback, or helps, teach the system and utilize it the right way with the quarterback? Or is it a quarterback that needs more of a coach for their technical, like become better mechanically? It's like every young quarterback might have a different need of what is going to make them successful. So it's just one of those big unknowns.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm like, I know the fan base is negative right now in regards of Aaron Glenn. There's people already talking about fire Aaron Glenn that's out there. And like I'm being very straightforward with you guys. Like, it's insane to me. And all you can do is hope that this regime is going to get it right. He's saying all the right stuff, right? I mean, he's plucking at the heartstrings when he went ahead and talked about the Denver game in '98. I remember that game. That's the biggest reason why I hate Denver. I can't stand Denver because of that game of itself. I don't know, man. Like, there's just something about, I feel like we're going to see something that's going to get us hyped up. And in Jets fashion, watch, we're going to have a crazy good season, and we're going to end up I think there's like 6 quarterbacks the upcoming year, if I'm not mistaken, that are like the quarterbacks to get. And we're going to get pushed all the way back that we are not going to be able to get one of those guys. And then we're back in this position where we're at right now.
It would be a Jetsy thing to do. to find a way to win 9 or 10 games, just miss the playoffs, and miss out on all the quarterbacks. It would be a
just falling
very
short.
it would be a very Jets-like thing to do.
They're so awesome at that.
By the way, which is why a trade back all the way back to 19, even though some fans hate that kind of thing, would be so nice, because that might come with like a next year's first round pick or second round pick, depending on what we get this year. There's your ammunition to trade up, right? You're getting ammunition. Now you could, next year, if you do win too many games and you end up too far back, now you have some extra draft capital to move up. So,
but we're probably going to be picking in the top 5 next year anyway. So,
but what is too far back, right? Like, what is too far back for us to go ahead and pick up a player this year in the draft?
I don't think it's much further past. Seattle's 18. I don't think I'd go past 20 with Denver. Like, if Denver, like for instance, Denver really needs a tight end. Let's say they want Tyler Warren badly. They want to trade up to 7 to draft him. And if the Jets were to trade down, I think that's about my absolute limit. Anything further, I worry about what kind of prospect you're getting and if they'll have an immediate impact for you.
Yeah, I would be afraid. To me, it's all about the lowest I want to go in the player we would add is I actually like Lovebridge as well at tight end. Like, I'd be fine if we traded back and ended up with him as a player. As a matter of fact, I think he might have a higher ceiling than Warren, but a much, much lower floor. I think the reason why I have Warren above him is because Warren has the higher floor, a very high floor, whereas there's a little bit more risk in this kid from Michigan. But with me,
Loveland is his name, right? Loveland.
Loveland. I call him Lovebridge, but Loveland. Yeah.
Loveland.
I think my main factor though is the guy I wouldn't want to miss, and I think O'Leary might agree, is Ibuka.
Yeah,
Ibuka, the kid from Ohio State. Like, I want to make sure I don't trade back far enough that I miss out on him. If I could trade back and still secure him as my wide receiver, I'm a very happy guy.
There's a couple of wide receivers that I like that are out there for us that we could potentially get with him. I like the guy out of Ohio, right? I like what he does. I like the hands that he has, the way he goes up for the ball. But another kid that I started watching a lot of film on was the kid Brian out of Illinois, right? I don't know if you guys have done any film on him and everything. Go get him a look, man. He led in college in contested balls that he caught, right? He's 6'1". He's about like 210, got really good separation as well. So there's something that's there. The biggest difference is he just went to Illinois, right? And you're really not going to hear in regards to that. That could be a gem that's out there that we could potentially get. And then we got, because I'm all about the kid from Ohio, man. I do like him a lot. And pair him up with Garrett, him, potentially this other kid out of Illinois, and then your fourth is Corley. Sign me up, and we'll see what we got from there. But I'm gonna transition a little bit real quick right now, right? Because I think the biggest thing that I wanted to ask you guys, right? Because it's literally right around the corner, is free agency. Tampering season's coming very quickly. I think it's on Monday at 12, if I'm not mistaken, right? And there's a lot of players that are out there that you could potentially bring in and get steals from them. And I think what Glenn has told us, he wants to make players that are good, great Hall of Fame. So this is something that for me is like, all right, prove it. Show me it, right? Have you guys seen the free agency that's out there right now? Are you guys familiar with a lot of the names that are coming out?
Yeah, I definitely have started looking at the free agents, and just you mentioned Aaron Glenn there, and I feel like we're gonna get some Lions making their way over to the New York Jets on both sides of the ball, because you had Engstrand on the offensive side and you had Aaron Glenn on the defensive side. The player in free agency that I think makes the most sense from Detroit to the New York Jets is Levi Onwuzurike. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. Interior defensive lineman. Has had a little bit of injury concern earlier in his career, was finally fully healthy last year, was awesome in that defense, and I think he would complement Quinnen Williams really well on the interior defensive line. I don't think that's someone you're breaking the bank over, as you were saying, kind of looking like diamonds in the rough. That's one of those guys where I think he'll go, all right, like he's played in my defense. He knows the system I like to run. It's a big position of need here for the New York Jets. So that seems like my first obvious connection from someone from Detroit making their way over to the Jets.
27-year-old, I think 6'3", 300 pounds, a big body in there, right? Yeah, give me that all day. In a dream scenario, I would be all about Milton Williams if we could afford him, but he's going to break the bank for us. Chaos, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was thinking like if you don't be shocked, and it doesn't even have to be one of their stars. Like even if it was one of their guys, that's a backup. But like, don't be shocked if he loves a guy in the secondary, right? Because I mean, he was a defensive back, so it's probably has a special place in his heart, like those players, and he probably coaches them up a little bit more intimately, because since he was a back. So I wouldn't be surprised if whether it's there's one that's a free agent that's actually pretty good. I'm forgetting his name. That might cost some money, but all the way to just kind of a roster bubble type guy that's just going to be depth in our locker room. I wouldn't be at all shocked at that. And then you got to look at the wide receivers, same thing, not the top three guys, but you got to look at who's their WR4, WR5, WR6, like those kind of things. There might be a guy that our new offensive coordinator likes. So we might see, that level of player. Kind of like not a star, not a huge game changer, but part of the culture change. Guys that they want in the locker room, guys that they want for depth, guys that they think are just good team guys to fill roles that aren't going to be costly. It's just let's face it, it's just very common for coaches to do that when they move around. You can't always take the stars with you, but they take just the guys that are going to help build the culture in the locker room and form the personality of the team.
Yeah, I think for me, I really think that looking at the Jets defense and Aaron Glenn being the defensive-minded coach that he is, earlier he had spoken about people's names who aren't being spoken about on the defense. And he mentioned Quinnen Williams and people of that nature. You have you have Jermaine Johnson coming back from injury. You have Will McDonald, who actually made some really good progress last year on the defensive line. I could see the Jets possibly drafting, someone to complement Quinnen Williams on the line, but someone that I was hoping that that maybe Aaron Glenn would look to bring. I know that we have to pay Sauce Gardner sooner or later. He's like that's coming up, but I really like Carlton Davis from the Detroit Lions. I know he would be a big, price ticket, but the thing is that I think if you get those, and with DJ Reed leaving, right, there's that gap at cornerback. I really like the fact that, maybe we could go a little less expensive on other positions on the defense and maybe like really try to get 2 lockdown corners. That would be, a method, a way of going about it. So I like Davis.
I like him too. A part of me feels like I'd be surprised if they spent that kind of money at corner, but I think you can make a strong case for the Jets doing that if you want to, like, same thing that I was just saying with Onwuzurike. You have a veteran who would come in, and we know how important Sauce Gardner is to the future of this team, but he can kind of take Sauce under his wing and be like, all right, this is how we did things in Detroit. This is how we're going to get the defense back up to a respectable level. And kind of go from there. So while a part of me is I'm a little unsure if that's where they're going to spend their money, I wouldn't hate it because I think Sauce would greatly benefit from having a guy like that with him in his secondary.
Yeah, he needs like a big brother. He had that in DJ Reed a little bit, and
I think one of the best things for Sauce is just the change of the scheme. I think he's the guy who needs to just play man and I think he's I mean, he need to play him like we played Revis. You need to just say, kid, go out there. You see that guy on the other team wearing number 88? He's not allowed to catch a pass. and just let him go do his job.
Yeah. The big argument from a lot of Jet fans, though, is, and you know, and I guess the team itself is looking for those, you know, interceptions. He's great at swatting the ball away, but you know, when is he going to make that transition to getting the ball in his hands? So,
See, and I think in free agency, there's a lot of players that are there that I think fit the narrative of Aaron Glenn's guys, right? So you kind of went with corner, and I like the kid that's coming out of the Saints, Adibu, right? He looks just like Sauce, right? Very tall, very lanky guy, but he's not scared of press, right? So he's a handsy dude, the whole nine, but he also intercepts balls. He didn't have such a big year, but I mean, it's the Saints, right? The Saints were kind of like everywhere. He's a free agent. He's another guy that's out there. One position group that I wanted to talk with you guys about, right? Which I think it's one if this individual doesn't come back. Now, I hope he does come back, right? Sherwood. If Sherwood leaves us, right? And first, I want to ask you guys, what is too much of an asking price for Sherwood? And if Sherwood does leave, are we going to potentially replace him through the draft, right? Or is there a potential where Detroit might have some casualties from the cap itself? Alex Alzoni, whatever his name is, the blonde-haired cat from over there, right? He's the guy that's cut, and he's a potential person to go ahead and implement what they were doing over there in Detroit. Thoughts?
I love Alex Anzalone, man. He's a fantastic football player. It only I just pulled up his contract. It would save them $4.9 million, so almost $5 million. If he shook free, I would love to add him to the Jets. I don't know how likely that is, but for Jamie and Sherwood, I think he's going to get roughly $10 million a year, maybe like a 3-year for $30 million contract, something like that. I think the Jets are going to be in the mix, and I know I'm not saying anything out of the ordinary here when I'm going to link two other teams, but the Atlanta Falcons with Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh with the 49ers, I think, are going to be all over him as well. They loved him. Both Robert Saleh and Ulbrich couldn't stop talking about Jamie and Sherwood. So he'll have his suitors if he hits the market. But I do think that if he does leave, which I'd rather him stay, that's something that they have to address in free agency. Maybe it's a 1-year deal for a guy like Dre Greenlaw, who I know he's been hurt a little bit the last 2 years, but he had maybe his best year with Steve Wilks in 2023. So we have all the Aaron Glenn connections, but on the defense, I think we need to start looking for some Steve Wilks connections too. And I think that's one that maybe you could make.
Chaos?
Yeah, I think there. By the way, there are some really good linebackers in the draft that would be there in the second round. I mean, we have a lot of needs, so you can't get them all. You can't get you're not going to get everybody and all these guys we talk about. But even at 7, I mean, if we traded back, like we said, to 18, and we didn't take the wide receiver, if he was gone, there's guys. There's some really, and I think one of the things we're going to see change is that we don't necessarily have to see small linebackers that are just coverage guys, right? That are just more like the safety converted linebacker. We might see us go back to the more traditional, 255 pounds, brick house, fast, powerful kind of athlete guy that you get out of an Alabama or a Georgia. So look at the draft. Don't be shocked if you see us take a linebacker like that. And the other thing is, maybe it's hard to see, I think Sherwood is a guy that we invested a lot in as an organization and developed, but unfortunately this coaching staff invested nothing in him and has no attachments to him at all. I would say Matt is right. Maybe 10, 11 million a year, 3-year kind of deal, guarantee 18 to 20 of it. That kind of deal. And if somebody is going to outpay and overpay for him and say they're going to do 13, 14, and give him 28 guaranteed, I think you have to kind of just say, okay, like that. It sucks, but there's other places to get linebackers, and we have to just look elsewhere because you can't play the game of getting desperate and overpaying for players. You just can't do it. We have too many holes on this team, and we just can't afford to overpay for anybody.
100%. The Greenlaw pick, Matt, you took the words right out of my mouth because of the Wilkes connection and all that. It's true. Dream scenario, Nick Bolton, some way, somehow, right? He's there and the money is where it needs to be at. I would love it. The attachment that a lot of individuals have with Sherwood it's a little bit crazy to me because you guys have said it. It's a brand new regime. They don't have the attachment with that guy and everything. I think a lot of our issues as fans right now, speaking for myself, is I get attached too much to what I believe in Jet standards is such a good player. But if this player was to be in a real good actual team that actually wins, that knows what playoffs and all that, he probably would be mid, right? So maybe, I don't know. Anyways, but I would love something like that. The safety room now, right? Let's hit the safety room. I'm wanting the guy, Matt, you said it a little bit, right? The connections, we kind of need to start connecting some of the players with Wilkes. Ufanga is out there, man. He is a beast. I wanted the Jets to draft him originally when he came out. We didn't, right? But the safety is a room that is lacking right now, and I think it's needed. There's a lot of guys that are out there. Jeremy Chin from the Commanders is another name that's out there that people are talking about that could potentially be a player that comes in and is not asking for the bag. With that being said, your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I like him a lot too, and that's an easy one to make a connection to with the connection to the defensive coordinator and Steve Wilkes. The safety that I've I'm going to leave the other one for Jeremy. I know Jeremy's guy at safety, but the other guy that I really like is Cameron Bynum from the Minnesota Vikings. That's kind of my guy that I've staked my claim in the safety room. He's young. He's still only 26 years old. I like that he seems to find the ball. He had 3 interceptions this past year at safety. And something that I really like about him is he is one of the best tackling safeties. His missed tackle rate is very, very low in comparison to some of the other guys. And something that frustrated me last year in the run game was how many missed tackles from the safeties they had with, Tony Adams and then the other, rotation of whoever else was on the other side. Something that I put an emphasis on when looking for guys in the draft and in free agency this year is I'm putting much more stock into missed tackle rate because it was such an issue for them last year. So that's another reason why I particularly like him. But there's a ton of guys at safety who are going to probably get $12 to $15 million a year, which isn't crazy money, but it's good starter money, and you can pretty much pick your poison there.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the bad news is we have 0 safeties on our roster, right? It's not just we need 1 or, we need 2. And we may even need a backup depending on if we bring back Jalen Mills or if we bring somebody back or not, right? So, and I like Mills as a backup, by the way.
I do too. Green Goblin, bring him back.
Don't put him in coverage, box safety. Like, don't put him on the Colts' best receiver with 2 minutes left to go in the game when you're trying to protect the lead. Like, if you could figure that part out, he's an okay player. But yeah, I mean, I love the guy Matt likes, so I don't want to be like the guy that's against him. I like the safety from Minnesota. I'd be perfectly happy if we get him. Jeremy Chin, I never argue against the Jeremy. But I like Jay Reed, from Kansas City. Like, that's another one that'll probably be in that 13 to $16 million range. I don't know, 14, 15, 16, somewhere. Maybe not, because there's a bunch of safeties. So maybe not. So maybe he'll be, just 13 or 12 or 13. I don't know. But I like him. We also in the Super Bowl, there were some plays where it's hard not to like him. Because he had some big plays. He always seems to show up and make big plays. I like that he can do both. I like that he can tackle. He can help in the running against the run. He also is good in coverage. You can trust him. He finds a way to the ball. He'll cause turnovers. Like, he's not a superstar, but he's good at, he's decent at all those kind of things. And then you have to look at the draft, because we need two. And my favorite value pick, because you can't, I keep saying, oh, in the first round, in the second round, but you can't take 8 guys when you only have 2 picks, 1 first round pick and 1 second round pick. But if you're going to ask me who might be there in the 4th round that could start day 1 potentially as a box safety, is Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. So there is some value in this draft at the safety position. You can get guys. So that's how, if I had my way, I would do it. If I can walk out of that draft with Jonas Sanker as a 4th round pick, or even, wouldn't be horrible to me, because I believe in the player so much. I think he's the best run stopping safety in the draft. And then you combine him with a Reed or the kid from Minnesota. I'm going to try to say his name. Because I always, how I butcher names, but like that kind of combination, bring Mills as a backup, that kind of thing. Then I think we solved the safety room without giving up without utilizing a 1st or 2nd pick, and without breaking the bank. I think it's perfectly reasonable to spend $15 million on a really proven veteran safety.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying seeing Clancy. Shout out to Clancy. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please make sure you guys smash the like and hit the sub if you guys haven't done that yet. I like Jalen Reed out of Penn State, right? He's another safety that's out there. I'm on the same boat with you, Chaos. If we could get one of these, buying them, if that occurs and happen, that'd be crazy. I just think it's gonna cost a lot of money, but why not, right? Yeah, if we can figure it out to make it happen, make it happen. But
Bynum and Chin, right? They're both in that sweet spot for age at the safety position, and they're both coming off of teams that were highly successful last season. So
true.
They would be very very good additions to the Jets, either one. So that's where I stood. As soon as Matt mentioned Bynum, I was like, oh, that was, that's where I wanted to be. And like we say, we never don't like a Jeremy. So very, very true. Except if it's Jeremy Ruckert.
But we loved him. We loved him for a while, man.
Yeah,
we loved him for a while.
I still do, man. Is it the coaches that did not know how to use everybody in this entire team itself, the reasoning for them not to be good? Because one of the things that Ruckert had was that he could catch. And after he caught the ball, he could break tackles. He didn't do that. He was dropping balls. It was crazy to me. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening to him? We all thought that we were going to have more 2 tight end looks and all that. And Conklin and Ruck was going to be huge this year. And it wasn't until Tyrod Taylor came in that Conklin started catching balls.
I was more shocked about his missed blocks. I mean, in Ohio State, he was such a good blocker. Yeah, I mean, that was really why he went 3rd round. Because they don't utilize their tight ends in the passing game. And although I'm with you, and I believe that Ruckert, I believed at the time, was going to develop into a fine receiving tight end when you needed him. To me, the reason he had a high floor and I liked the pick at the time was that he was just such a good blocking tight end at Ohio State. And to see him missing blocks this year, and he regressed. It wasn't the guy we drafted. Year 1, he wasn't missing blocks. He was actually, there were lots of highlights where it was like, look at what Ruckert did that play. He was making great hits. And then last year, man, what the hell happened? And there is an argument to be made that maybe the coaching staff failed him, because there's no excuse for a guy like that to regress.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't get what happened, because like Jeremy said, year 1 and even into year 2, it looked like, okay, worst case scenario, you at least have a good blocking tight end too. I always thought he has this one catch. It might have been in Ohio State's championship game, actually. He has this crazy one-handed touchdown catch at Ohio State.
Yep.
And from that moment on, I was always kind of like, why don't they use this kid more as a pass catcher? Like, I thought he was underutilized in college in that. I thought he was a better catcher than maybe Ohio State really gave him credit for. And for whatever reason, it hasn't clicked at this level yet. Still holding out hope. Maybe something happens in year 4, but I think it's an uphill battle for him at this point.
Yeah, I think once you start to drop passes from Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to look your way anymore. So it's a tough thing to overcome with him. I love him. If anybody wants an autographed Jeremy Ruckert poster, I have one.
So do I. Probably the same one.
It is the same one. It's from when we went to the main event.
I figured.
Look, he has the storyline, right? He grew up a Jet fan, right? He's a Long Island kid. I'm all about the dude. I hope that somebody comes in and is like, there's something with this guy. We could work with him, and he just comes out guns a blazing, right? Would be the ultimate. But you're completely right, Jeremy. He went down. He regressed. It was tough seeing that, because I was like, Matt, that one-handed catch, it was in the right in the middle, just catching it was crazy. Guess who threw the ball to him?
It was Fields, right?
It was Fields, baby. Right? So just he never got those chances. He was never utilized like that.
I think there's a possibility. I do think that he is going to be in camp. He's going to be fighting for a spot on the roster. Unfortunately, it's not like he's fighting. It's not like he's going in there fighting to be the tight end 2 or tight end. No, he's fighting to survive. He's fighting to have a roster spot. Depending what we do in the draft or in free agency, we'll know a little bit more about his chances. But I'm hoping that with a different coaching staff, I'm hoping that they could at least salvage him as a really solid tight end, blocking tight ends that you could rely on again to come into the game. You can line him up in line, or you can line him up in space as a blocker in the running game, and that he can earn his, and become, fill a role on our team, and not be a total wash. And, because personally, I love the guy. I love the story. So I'm really rooting for him. But unfortunately, he's going to be fighting for a spot on the roster because this coaching staff has no attachment to him.
Yeah. And does Conklin stay with us, or is he gone?
He's gone. He's a free agent already.
I think he's going to be gone.
He's
gone? Take the comp pick. It's a deep tight end draft. Take the comp pick.
So available free agents at tight end, I'm looking at Ingram, Gesicki, and Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I think Juwan Johnson's going to be the guy that they like. I think, was it Connor Hughes or Zach Rosenblatt? One of the two mentioned Juwan Jennings as a target. That's what I think they bring in.
The Jet fans don't want Ingram. No. Because he's going to come back. He's going to go back to his old way with the dropsies. He kind of got over that a little bit down south. But I have the fear that he'll come back to New York and he'll be dropping passes. And us Jet fans.
This is the guy we need. And we're not talking about him enough.
Kuntz,
baby.
Kuntz.
Hey,
he'll end up in San Francisco.
ODU, baby. ODU, let's go. All right. So we went defense already, right? And I know it's getting a little bit towards the end of the show itself. So let's talk a little bit about the offensive side. Let's talk first about the one hole that I think is kind of big on the line right now, the right tackle. Are we going to address it in the draft or in free agency? And if so, who are some of the guys that you guys would like to have? Matt?
Can the Jets be a normal team and find a starting right tackle in the third round?
And it's there. I know who it is too.
Ozzie Trapilo from Boston College.
Right there. There's your starting right tackle. You get him in the third round.
That's my thought. And interesting, we haven't talked about it yet. Did you guys see the news with the Jets third round pick that came out of maybe 40 minutes ago while we were on here? So apparently with the Devontae Adams trade, everyone thought that the Jets traded their own third round pick to the Raiders. Apparently it was the Detroit pick that the Jets had, because that's what they just traded for Geno Smith. So they traded pick 92. So the Jets have pick 73 in the third round, not pick 92.
Wait a second. How did every app get that wrong?
I don't know. Mike Garafolo clarified. He was like, yeah, 92 was sent for Geno Smith.
Oh, and my God. That changes everything.
Right? Like that's a almost 20 pick difference. That's crazy.
So many guys that will still be on the board that wasn't sure was going to be on the board by 92. That changes everything.
Yeah. So love that. That's, sneaky under the radar thing. But again, the guy that I mentioned and Jeremy that did too, I think Ozzie Trapilo could come in and start right away for you at right tackle.
Yeah. Guys, I watched this film and I told Don, maybe we shouldn't even be too loud about it, screaming all over the internet. And because it seems like every guy we get back that we get really excited about seems to crawl up the board. But this kid, when I watch his film, I don't see the difference between him and the top 4 prospects. I just don't see it. The kid's got violent hands. He's in position all the time. He's super fast, so you don't have to worry about the speed rushes going around him. And at the Senior Bowl, he popped out. He was great. He was winning all his reps, and that was him. And there was some great edges at the Senior Bowl that he was, practicing against. Really top-notch, top 2 round edges that are going to be NFL players. And he held his own against all of them. So when people say, oh, but he's from Boston College, I watched him go against the big guys, the big boys. And he's thumbs up. This kid's the real deal. So, yeah, that's my answer is Ozzie Trapilo. And if you miss out on him, there's another kid we love from LSU, the right guard, Miles Frazier. And he won the offensive lineman of the week at the Senior Bowl. And he was a guy that nobody knew about, that Dom C knew about. And we absolutely fell in love with him and watching this film. And he's a guy where if we miss out on tackling, you say, oh no, what are we going to do? Here we are in the draft. We're in the 3rd round. Ozzie's off the board. There's no one we like left. Well, you can take a guy like Miles Frazier and you can move AVT out to tackle. So there's a backup that you can make that backup plan. And I know there's some people who don't want AVT at tackle because of that he got hurt there, but I think that's a bunch of nonsense. I don't think you could be all this position made him get hurt. It was just bad luck. Playing tackle doesn't make him more prone to be injured.
So I know the Miles Frazier kid. He's a Jersey native, right? He's a kid from Jersey. So
we didn't know at the time. After we interviewed him, we said, "Holy shit, he's from New Jersey."
yeah. He's a Camden guy.
We didn't get to ask him the Taylor ham pork roll question.
You should have. So Matt, breaking news: you just dropped it on JetsWorldwide because we had that changes it a lot, right? So I'm more again, like I just said about an hour ago. If you ask me in an hour, I guarantee you my whole take on everything that we just talked about is going to change all over again, right? So look, I saw free agency. I like the kid Wills, right? He was a Brown. He couldn't cut it as a left tackle, right? He had the issue over there where he made a business decision and all that, but he was really injured, right? Which they're not really talking about it as much. He messed up his leg. He messed up his left leg that he had surgery about a year ago prior to that. And it's the Browns. The Browns weren't doing anything. They weren't going anywhere. So why risk the injuring yourself even more? Alabama, he was a right tackle, right? He was a top 10 pick that came out, and we don't know. He would be able to go ahead and switch into that. That's some guy that's out there in free agency that I wouldn't mind for that. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. Other than the 2 players you guys just named, I really don't know other right tackles that are out there that are going to be able to go ahead and fit us. Teach me right now. Tell me. Give me some other guys that are out there. Chaos, I know you got him, man.
If you want to use a 2nd round pick, if he's there, I think Dom C has him ranked 1 as the offensive tackle, but understand this is a terrible year, compared to last year. I agree. I love him. So I would have to make him my OT1 as well. but understandably, I'm not hiding it because Tom C influenced me. But I did watch film on him, and I've watched him play because I'm out here on the West Coast. From Oregon, Josh Connerly is a fantastic prospect, and if he's there in the second round and you already took your tight ends, or now that we have pick 70 something, I don't care about because like if we don't get the tight end in the first 2 rounds, 72 you can get like there's gonna be like Terrence Ferguson from Oregon as well. There's going to be guys, Gunnar Helm. I mean, there'll be plenty of good, tight end prospects at 72. So if Josh Connerly's on the board and you didn't get anybody in free agency and you want to, you want your right tackle, there's your right tackle. That guy's a day 1 starter in the NFL.
Matt,
I like Connerly a lot too. I think he's going to go in the first round, though, and I think Jeremy wouldn't be surprised by that. If
not at all. I think if the scouts get it right, if the personnel departments get it right, and the media and all the the website guys that are doing the projections, but if the scouts get it right, he's going in the top 20. Because I think, in my opinion, based on what my eyes tell me, because he's the best tackle prospect in this draft, in my opinion.
I don't know if I love it, but there's been some smoke about Armand Membu to the Jets at 7, the right tackle from Missouri. I'm gonna be honest, that wouldn't be my preference for the Jets at pick number 7, but he kind of fits what I think Aaron Glenn and the Jets are going to want to do. He is nasty in the run game. He is crazy athletic, so he can get out into space and move around really well. So that would be obviously using a premium pick, a 7th overall pick on a right tackle. But I mean, it worked for the Lions with Penei Sewell, and I don't think they're complaining about how, they took a right tackle too early. So I don't know, maybe they'll take a page out of the Lions book there.
If he hits, nobody cares where you took him.
Good point.
Are we addressing right tackle with the draft, or are we addressing right tackle with free agency? You talked about Wills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Wills was Wirfs is a very successful tackle. Wills was chosen before Wirfs, right? And just didn't work out where they put him. So I don't know. Do you do it that way, or do you want another Baltimore guy? Who's the guy from Baltimore who's available now?
I know you're talking about. I can't think of his name right now.
Macari.
He's going to cost money, right?
It would cost some money, I guess. Yeah, but he's also versatile. He's I believe he's a swing tackle. So God forbid something happens to Olu, he still has the versatility to switch over to the left side. Ronnie Stanley. He's the Baltimore Cat that's out. Is it?
That's he's out there right now. I believe so. I'm pretty positive that's who it is.
I thought it was like Patrick Macari. Isn't it Patrick Macari?
There's a Patrick Macari's also there. I don't know how many games has he started. Is he a starter for there?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
I was spelling his name wrong. That's why I couldn't find him.
Look, it's a proven entity, which is never a bad thing.
Yeah. Stats.
Yeah, he is. He's there.
Yeah.
He's kind of played all over, right? He's played a little tackle also, some center early in his career. Right. Versatile.
Yeah, he's a versatile guy. So
still young, 28.
Right. So I'm just thinking,
28.
I like the Membu guy in the draft, but I was just thinking, I'm always looking experience.
It's just really rich to take him at 7. Really rich to take him at 7.
Because I would be like trade back at that point, right? Try to see if somebody's gonna want to jump.
Well, definitely, because like we were talking about before, if you traded back with Seattle, you're going to get either if you don't get him, you'll get Connerly. You'll get one of the two probably at 20.
And you secure that line. So okay, so we're talking about this now, right? And let's keep it on the offense. Wide receivers. There's huge holes now at wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, Corley. That's it.
Yeah.
A big gap. I like Joshua Palmer from the Chargers. He's still young. I think he's only 25, or maybe he'll be 26 at the start of next season. I think at least he can come in and be a valuable pass catcher. I don't know if he's a, stud number 2, but he's not going to be nearly as costly as someone like the bigger names out there. But I think he can play.
Someone's saying I look like a gangster, so I'm trying to play the part.
Shout out, Rich.
You had mentioned Slayton before.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
Slayton. I wouldn't mind seeing him come over to the Jets.
They're not long-term answers, so that's why it's okay. I mean, because even like Palmer, right? Maybe he'd be WR2 going into next year, and no one's going to love that, right? As WR2, like we're gonna have a lot of unhappy fans. But like we said, you can't fill every hole in one offseason. We're not going to be able to do it. Like there's going to be some positions where you're not thrilled about, but you know what? He's young enough that when you do find that WR2, if you don't do it this year and you do it, let's say did it next year, he is a guy that can then slide in and be WR3 or the guy, like he could still be an important player on the team and play an important role on the team, unless let's say he explodes and he gets 800 to 900 yards, 8 touchdowns as a WR2. Then you got your WR2 and you're not worried about it.
Right.
So
with Tyrod Taylor or with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, maybe he can hit Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore coming back. Wow, that'd be
Elijah Moore coming back. He was always open, right? He said he was always open.
What about the Commanders guy, Dwami Brown? He looked good in the playoffs.
He did look good in the playoffs. I'd be in on Dwami Brown, and he's another guy who's pretty young too. He's only 25, so I like that.
And then we get somebody in the draft as well. And then you kind of essentially fixed up your wide receiving core at that point.
There are some sneaky guys in the draft too, like guys that, they're sleepers all the time. Don't forget Pua, like there's sneaky guys in every draft, right? There are guys that you just don't know that you fall in love with when you watch the tape. I got a guy played about an hour and 20 minutes from me. Unfortunately, it's for San Jose State, so nobody sees him and he doesn't play against great competition. So no one takes him very seriously. And he wasn't a wide receiver until last year. He was a quarterback that they switched to wide receiver, and he led the entire conference in receptions, touchdowns, and yard in every category. And he was a stud, but he played against no one, and nobody knows who he is, and his name is Nick Nash. So this is the kind of guy that you could get in the 5th, 6th rounds, and you just never know. He's a gamble. He'll probably amount to nothing. But then again, what if because he played quarterback and no one ever knew, what if he could do it against any competition and he's going to be a star wide receiver? I mean, there are guys that in this draft that could be sneaky.
These are the intricacies of the draft. These are the complete unknowns. Like coaching plays such a part in all of this. Huge.
Pat Bryant, I'm telling you guys, there's something about this kid that I like a lot. Pat Bryant, man, he's 6'3" frame. Out of the only reason not many people know about him, it's just like what you were saying, Chaos. He's from Illinois. Guys go out, check him out. You guys will end up falling in love with the kid itself. The last one. Are we picking a running back this year in the draft? Is that happening?
I know it's a great running back class, but I would say no. I think they're good with Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis. I know there's some who like trade Breece Hall and draft Dash and GT. I'm definitely not on that train. GT might be awesome, but I'm not selling my Breece stock. I think they roll with the 3 that they have.
Yeah, if we go into the draft and we still have those 3 running backs on the roster and nothing changed and there was no trade of Breece Hall or anything weird like that, assuming those 3 are on the roster, why are you taking a running back? Like for what? Do are you even going to carry 4 running backs? I don't know. So, you're going to take a guy, like what round are you taking him? Because, your running back 4 is not going to be a guy that you use anything real on. So, I'd have to say no, but that is we have to see, I'm not going to say anything's written in stone, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We have to look at our roster when we go into the draft. But if the running back room has those 3 running backs in it, I don't understand why you'd use anything. Maybe a 6th round flyer on a guy you bring in because you might consider, if he plays special teams, you might consider rostering a 4th running back and that you think you could develop, maybe, but it's not something I would expect at all.
With the amount of holes that we have on this team and the quality that we have in the running back, it's the only room on the team that's actually intact.
Yeah.
With experience and bruising ability and outside speed, that we're good. I'm not going to waste a draft pick on a running back this year. Something happens next year possibly, but I'm good now. I'm good with running back.
All right. Well, are we getting a kicker? Is Greg Zuerlein gone, baby? We get the guy out of FSU who was like a beast, I guess, supposedly in the combine, kicking for over 60 yards. He was 100% in the year. Didn't miss anything. Thoughts?
I don't think Greg Zuerlein is back. They could draft a kicker. Fitzgerald, I think his name is, right? At FSU. Yeah, they definitely need to find a new one, whether that's like in free agency. I think Eddie Piñeiro's available. He was with the Jets actually a couple years ago and lost the kicking job to Greg Zuerlein, but he's been pretty good in Carolina the last few years. So there'll be options for them in the kicking game.
If there's anything that we've learned this year is that, and I say it every year, the kicker is responsible for 1 or 3 points every time they step up to kick the ball. And if they're not getting it, then you are losing points. So hell yeah, we need a kicker who is going to score points for us no matter what. So that I would not even waste. I would use a draft pick on a kicker this year. We need one.
If it's a number 6 pick, I'm not going to be angry about it. But the only thing I'm basing, it's not that kicker's not important. It's just that you have, like, if you look around the league, there are as many kickers that were just undrafted free agents as there are that were drafted. Like, it's just, and I've lived through 2 guys that I know of on the top of my head that were drafted in the 2nd round. One was drafted by the Jets, and he was a huge flop that broke our hearts and cost us AFC Championship game to play New England because we lost to Pittsburgh because of him. And I watched Tampa Bay waste the 2nd round pick on a kicker who never amounted to anything. So you look really foolish when you grab one in a 2nd round and they don't even work out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I know you know that. But like, so if they use a 6th rounder on one, like Fitzgerald or the kid from Miami or Sauls from Pittsburgh, like whatever. I was like, and especially if it hits, like if he ends up being a good kicker, then it's like great pick. But if they don't, I'm not going to freak out because they could bring in 3 undrafted free agents and let them compete, and there's a real solid chance you're going to find a decent kicker that way, or you're just going to get a free agent. I mean, we've seen teams. Look how many teams in this league have good kickers because they just take old Jets that we've let go.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? So they come a million different ways.
Field goals might be the only points we're scoring this year. So who knows?
John Hall's son is out there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm kidding. I'm just trying to throw that out there.
John Hall Jr.
John Hall Jr. Dude, I love John Hall, man. But there is a player that's out there. Mickens' son is out there, right?
Yeah.
The safety.
Yeah. Before O'Leary was born, before I even had the opportunity to maybe meet his parents and change his diapers, we had this kicker named Pat Leahy, who was just wonderful. Like, just the old timers know what I'm talking about. He was just the best kicker we have ever had in our history, and he was it was so awesome because Leahy would come out, and you got the 3 points every time.
Yeah. Oh, Pat Ryan too, right? He could kick. I think.
Did he? I didn't know that with Pat Ryan.
I think Pat Ryan kicked also. He's not only quarterback but could also kick. So
you guys wanna hear a story on how my Jets fandom started?
Yeah, let's hear it.
My father took me to Hofstra, right? Because I'm a Hempstead kid, right? So Hofstra's like right there. And the Jets back in the day, as you guys know, that's where they used to practice at.
I used
They
to
had
go.
they had an open tryout, right, for a kicker, and it was Tony Miola, right? That was out there. He could kick the living crap out of the ball, but that was all he can do. That's all he could do. I was mesmerized on how hard he kicked that ball, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, this is a cool team. Like, thank you for taking me here." Right? I was probably like 7. I think this was like 94 and all that. That's my fandom of the Jets. I should have known then because he went back to the Metro Stars. He didn't even make it on the team at all.
Johnny, I was gonna say, for those of you in the audience who don't know who Tony Miola is, Johnny will now explain.
Yeah, he was
Matt. I saw the look on Matt's face. He was like,
I was like, I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good one right there, Matt. He was the goalie for the Metro Stars from like back in the day. It was a soccer club, was the Metro Stars and all that, like the Cosmos and all that. They changed to then they went now. I think they're the Red Bulls, if I'm not mistaken, of New York. He was their goalie. He was a beast, and he was the goalie for the U.S. national team as well. So, and he was from Long Island. He was a Long Island guy as well. So that was my fandom. That's how it started.
Now
I should have known that.
Johnny, we have the Rough Riders now.
Mm-hmm.
The soccer team.
Hey, cool thing about that, my dad was the goalie for the Rough Riders back in the day. My dad was real nice. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And next time we talk, next time we all get up, ask my dad about that.
Okay.
You know, so
sounds
good. It was pretty cool, man. So, but hey, man, this was awesome having you guys on here. Like, time went like that.
It did go quick. Thanks for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun tonight.
I enjoyed myself. The reality check back in effect.
Yeah, me and Matt always complain that an hour goes by too fast on Thursdays, so it was nice to finally have a lot of time to break it down.
Yeah, it was good. It was something that we don't normally do. We really don't get that deep into football stuff. Sometimes it's comedic relief. There's usually game shows on and stuff like that. So, just getting back into it with you guys was a fresh thing to do. So I want to thank both of you for being on, sharing your time with us and sharing your knowledge. It was that was really good. I liked it a lot.
Agreed. I would love to bring you guys back on again together. You guys really do. First and foremost, if you guys haven't checked out their show when they're at it together, you guys are missing out, man. These guys together are amazing. So I really, really look forward to it when you guys have it on. They kept me in check tonight because they knew what was going on. I was like, damn, man, these guys they know their stuff.
Matt and Jerry, I'm usually driving through Huntington when I catch your show. So I leave school and I'm coming back, and that I usually catch you guys as soon as I'm driving through Huntington. So
that's so cool.
Put you guys on, and I'll listen in the car. And if I stop at a stoplight, I'll type something in the chat. But that's about it. Johnny, any parting words?
Yeah. Matt, Chaos, real quick, where can everybody catch you guys? What are you guys doing that everybody could go on and check you guys out?
Yeah, so Talking Jets every Thursday. Jeremy and I do a show at 3:00. Also, I do daily content on my channel, Matt O'Leary NY. We're getting into free agency previews this weekend, so going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm back. Have a weekly live show on my channel on Jets Chaos. Aside from what I do with Matt, me and Dom C are breaking down all the positions in this year's draft. So if you want to learn more about, you can check out the videos that are still in the library and available to watch. We've done the tight ends and we've done the cornerbacks. We're going to be doing the defensive tackles in a couple of days this Sunday. And then Brooklyn Brothers food reviews. If you want to check me out, meet my brothers out, the three of us independently around the country, around the world. My brother's done many restaurants in Greece and in Italy, reviewing restaurants all over the world. Go check out Brooklyn Brothers food review.
I watched the All American episode, and the camera work,
Best.
the camera work on the All American video was outstanding, Jeremy. I don't know who was behind the camera on that one,
I
but
don't know.
that was rock steady. I can't believe. Give that man a raise, whoever he is.
I know that guy was amazing. Amazing guy. Studley with the way he held that camera and
Right?
everything.
I know.
It's
It's
great.
very good. We'll have to review Sir when we go back into Huntington. We'll show them how much meat you get at Sir.
One of my favorite ones from the Brooklyn Brothers food review is when Jeremy was reviewing chicken biscuits, right? But the crackers, right? I think it's called.
Oh yeah,
biscuits,
they're called
in a
chicken
basket.
biscuits. Yeah, the
Oh,
basket.
chicken
Yeah.
biscuits.
right?
Yeah.
And my wife and I watched that together because she loves them. She'll get a thing of cheese and spray it and just eat it like that, man. And she was like, he knows what he's talking about. And I was like, hey man, that's Jeremy right there. So this is awesome. But Chaos, I've been wanting to ask you this, man. Like, it's been driving me insane. Crystals or White Castle?
You might not like my answer, man. Crystals was close, and it scratched the itch a little bit. Now, to be fair to them, I had it delivered because freaking Dom C was being a baby and wouldn't just drive me to get it fresh. But it scratched the itch, but it wasn't as good as White Castle. Like White Castle, there's a little bit more with the onion. Like they just didn't have the capture the flavor that White Castle has with the onion and everything. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if either are worth eating more than four of them. Like four. Like I don't know if it's worth it to eat 4 White Castle hamburgers or Crystal burgers because I don't know if the price that you pay stomach wise is worth it. So
Murder burgers.
that may have been my last. Like I don't know, unless I haven't reviewed White Castle at White Castle. I've done their frozen. So I guess if I was in Long Island and Snowball said you want to review White Castle,
We'll go.
you know, I guess I would have to say yes, and I would just eat a couple of them.
but
I
then
am
I'm
not.
getting rid of
I
you
am
as
not
fast as
eating.
possible.
I am not eating more than 4 of them ever again in my life.
I'm dropping you off at O'Leary's house. I'm dropping you off at O'Leary's house right after you eat them. I'm going to be like, look at how nice his house is. And then you go ask and use the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
My
Castle.
father and I will go there. We'll both order a suitcase of White Castle, and we'll sit there, him and I, and just eat them right there up in West Hempstead. It's you guys. It's right there, right before you get into Hempstead, right? Me and my pops go right there to eat it. It's amazing, man. So,
Matt, when's the last time you had a White Castle?
Well, I've been, for the last 10 years, celiac, so I don't do gluten anymore. But I was a kid, man. It's got to be like 15 years ago, at least, probably.
I was a kid 15 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, I was 15, early 15.
Jeremy, you feel old or what?
That's wild because that's 2010. He was a kid.
Yeah, the last time the Jets were in the playoffs, I was in 10th grade.
I turned 40.
I was going to say I did the same thing, same exact thing. Jeremy, you and I are the same age.
I was finishing college.
I can't tell you the last time I ate a White
Holy
Castle.
crap.
Wow.
And I probably never will again. I don't know. Unless Jeremy comes.
I was talking to some people my age. They were like Matt's parents and in-laws.
Well, the kids at school now, I look at them and I go, I'm older than your parents now. So,
That's
very
fun.
funny. Yeah, it is. It's hysterical. All right. We're wrapping up. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a great evening, guys. Thanks for coming on. And you know what? We didn't do it in the beginning, so we'll do it at the end here. Thank you. Like and subscribe. This has been Jets
Worldwide, wide.
Call me real
I did end it, and it's not ending. I clicked the button. I clicked the button, and it's not working. There. Sorry, guys.